Here is the next section of Tacitus. This is section 2, where Messalina's visits to Silius become increasingly more frequent. She visited the house frequently, not secretly, but with many companions, clung to him when he went out, gave him honours and gifts. Finally, slaves, freedmen, and furnishings of the emperors were seen often at the house of the adulterer. But Claudius was unaware of the state of his own marriage. Now, Messalina, because of the easiness of the adulteries, turned to unusual lusts. Silius, whether because of his fateful folly or thinking that the very dangers were a cure for the imminent dangers, pressed for the concealment to be cast aside. Certainly, they should not wait while the emperor grows old. Well, here's the Latin, all in one piece. Let's have a look through, see what style analysis we can do. Tacitus starts off by saying illa non furtim, meaning she visited not secretly. We have a negative phrasing here to highlight Messalina's shamelessness and the openness of her scandalous behaviour. He then immediately contrasts this with sed multis cum comitibus, meaning but with many companions. He emphasises her boldness and complete lack of secrecy by openly surrounding herself with others while she's visiting Silius's house. He then uses a frequentative verb, ventitat, this one here, which means she visited frequently. It vividly stresses Messalina's obsessive and repeated visits. Right? She hadn't gone just once, but she frequently goes to his house. She's disregarded secrecy or any sort of caution here. The next little bit we have, he says a gradienti ad hieret, which means she clung to him when he went out. We use quite a vivid verb, or Tacitus uses quite a vivid verb here, ad hieret, to portray Messalina as physically intimate, possessive, almost controlling in her relationship with Silius. Then he moves on. He continues with the phrase dat opes honoresque. She gave him honours and gifts. We pair these two nouns together. Opes, honores. We highlight Messalina's misuse of imperial resources to try and win Silius's affection. Right, these aren't necessarily hers. They are things belonging to the emperor, things that that Messalina should not really be giving away. Well, what is it that she is giving to Silius? He lists servi, liberty, paratis principis, these three things here, right? Slaves, freedmen, furnishings of the emperor. Tacitus uses a tricolon to underscore the scale of Messalina's extravagance and her shocking use of, again, imperial property. He deliberately uses the word adulterum, right, this word here. They were often seen at the house of the adulterer. It explicitly labels Silius and intensifies the scandal by making clear that the moral corruption is involved here. Right? He reinforces it with saepe videbantur. These things were often seen. He emphasises how openly and frequently these offences were happening. What do we have next? Well, the phrase, at Claudius matrimoni sui ignaris. Claudius was unaware of the state of his own marriage, like the start of this sentence, or the full sentence itself. It introduces some dramatic irony. We as the audience know more than Claudius does. It highlights his vulnerability, it creates suspense, but importantly, we use his key name, Claudius. Now think who Claudius is. He's the emperor. Surely he should be aware of what is happening. The irony comes in that we know and he doesn't. Next, Tacitus mentions Messalina's shift. Okay, with this little bit. Iam Messalina propter facultate adulteriorum. Or rather, let's move on actually, let's have a look at this bit. Ad novas libidines versa est. She turned to unusual lusts. I think this phrase indicates Messalina's escalating moral corruption. It suggests her passions are becoming increasingly dangerous and uncontrollable. He moves on to the main guy himself, Silius. Here he is. And he says, so he talks about Silius' state of mind, right? He talks about it being fatali insania, right? His fateful folly. This is quite strong phrasing. It emphasises his recklessness, his self-destructive mindset, and also foreshadows what's going to happen, the tragedy that is going to come for Silius, and perhaps also for Messalina. After this, we get an almost paradoxical idea. Ipsa pericula remedium imminentium periculorum. The very dangers were a cure for the imminent dangers. Right, this bit here from ipsa down to periculorum. Here Tacitus vividly highlights Silius' desperation and his own sort of twisted logic. He suggests that Silius saw a greater risk as his only possible salvation, perhaps really trapped by Messalina. Moving on, using urgency, Tacitus says that Silius abrumpi dissimulationem urgebat. He pressed for the concealment to be cast aside. He uses quite a vivid verb, abrumpi, this one here, and also urgebat, right at the end, two quite vivid verbs. I think it shows Silius' impatience, his growing desperation. It intensifies the sense of this danger being quite imminent. And then Tacitus concludes the section with quite a striking gerundive phrase, right, from quippe down to censeret, meaning certainly they should not wait while the emperor grows old, this final clause. Here Tacitus conveys decisiveness and urgency. He emphasises Silius' bold ambition and also hinting dangerously at a possible plot against Claudius himself. And how is Claudius referred to? Well, no longer as Claudius, but now as the princeps, right? A bit of variatio to refer to him, highlighting his status as the emperor.